Hello, I have another new book to share for our 14 picture books before winter break. This is a new book that I'm really excited about. It's got a really neat message I think we all need to hear. And it kind of combines a lot of things into one book. This is called Oskar and the 8 Blessings. And it is a story by Richard Simon and Tanya Simon and illustrated by Mark Siegel. Some of you may celebrate Hanukkah, and Hanukkah often overlaps similarly to some of our days around Christmas. This year, Hanukkah begins on December 10th at sundown, and in this book, Hanukkah happens to be overlapping with Christmas, that the 7th night of Hanukkah is also Christmas Eve. But this is a story that takes place a long time ago in the late 1930s. And Oskar, the boy in the story, has been sent to America by his parents because there were a lot of really scary things happening in Europe at that time for Jewish people. And they sent him on a boat all by himself to America to stay with his aunt, someone he'd never met. And they sent him right during Hanukkah. So he arrives on a ship in New York City. Now, how many of you have been to New York City? If you have, it is huge, overwhelming. I can't imagine being a tiny boy, a kid, and showing up there yourself, all by yourself, and trying to find somebody. It's a million times bigger than Denver, for those of you who've been in Denver. So just imagine being in a huge city by yourself. But this is called Oskar and the 8 Blessings. And I think it's a great message for us all to listen to, especially it's been kind of a hard year this year, 2020, and I think maybe we could all learn a little bit from what we hear in this book. So this is Oskar and the 8 Blessings. I'm gonna try to really show you the illustrations too, because they're kind of a comic book feel as well, which is really neat. Oskar's mother and father believed in the power of blessings. So did Oskar. You see they're lighting the menorah there. Until the night of broken glass. His parents put him on a ship to America. He had nothing but an address and a photo of a woman he didn't know. It's your Aunt Esther. And his father's last words to him. Oskar, even in bad times, people can be good. You have to look for the blessings. Oskar arrived in New York on the 7th day of Hanukkah. It was also Christmas Eve. He knew his Aunt Esther would be lighting the menorah at sunset. To reach her before the sun went down, Oskar would have to walk over 100 blocks on the avenue called Broadway. 100 blocks he has to walk all by himself to find an aunt he doesn't know. The city was terribly big. Oskar was terribly small, and Broadway stretched before him like a river. You can see the illustrator does a cool job too of showing Oskar's breath, because it must be very cold right now for him to be there walking the streets. Oskar was already tired, hungry, and cold. His father's last words to him felt very far away. Do you think he must be so scared? Can you even put yourself in Oskar's position? I bet he's so afraid. After a few blocks, he looked up to see a woman feeding pigeons. She offered him a piece of a stale roll so he could feed them too. Oskar wanted to feed the birds, but he was too hungry not to swallow the morsel himself. The woman reached inside her coat and gave him a small loaf of bread. It was warm and fresh. It gave him the strength to keep walking. I've just had a thought. Does that ever happen to you as you're reading? That I was thinking about the title, Oskar and the 8 Blessings. I wonder if he's gonna have 8 kind things or blessings through the story. I'm kind of wondering that. Do you think that could be number 1 with the woman giving him bread? Let's see, it's a prediction I'm having as a reader. You'll have to tell me what you think. Oskar saw a newsstand full of comics. One showed a strong man in a cape doing amazing things. He stopped bullets. He stopped trains. The newsstand man held out his hand. Oskar didn't have any money, so he gave back the comic book. The man called to him. Oh, look, do you think that's Superman? Keep it, kid. Merry Christmas. I bet that's number 2. Oskar clutched his gift, his Superman, and he heard his father's words. You have to look for the blessings. So I want you to look really carefully at this. Can you see that Oskar is peering in a window? And his eyes get all lit up in that bottom picture. And he sees down here this beautiful picture in the window, just as his father said he had to look for the blessings. I think that's the third one, that he heard his father's voice and then looked and saw that beautiful painting. Oskar kept walking. He stopped when he heard music coming from a little alley where a big man was humming a jazzy tune. The man whistled to Oskar. Oskar whistled back. They made a tune as fast and light as the snowflakes falling around them. It was Oskar's first conversation in America. How cool is that? That his first conversation is made with music, with whistling. I think that is blessing number 4. At the corner of a park, boys were having a snowball fight. One boy slipped. Oskar leapt and caught him, just as the Superman would have done. The boy was laughing, and that made Oskar laugh. But when he looked at Oskar's cold hands, he stopped laughing. He took off his mittens. Oskar put them on and felt the boy's warmth. He had something to give the boy, too. Ooh, what do you think he'll give the boy? Look. He helps the boy and then gives him the comic. I think that's blessing number 5, that he gets warm mittens. A few blocks later, a tall lady in a big coat walked out of a building. A policeman shouted, "Stand aside!" Oskar stopped short. "Oh, Thomas, he's just a child," the lady said to the policeman. "Let him pass." She winked at Oskar. The policeman moved out of Oskar's path. "Yes, Mrs. Roosevelt." Mrs. Roosevelt? Do you know who that is? She's the First Lady. The sun was setting and Oskar began to run. He had to get to Aunt Esther's before she lit the shamash. Now, that's a Hebrew word, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but I did see in the book that there's a glossary. So I'm going to turn here, and it tells me that it is shamash, and it is the 9th candle on a Hanukkah menorah. Running, he stumbled and fell. A hand reached down. And pulled him up. "Back on your feet, son." His father was right. People can be good. There's another blessing. He turned the corner and ran down the street, looking for her house. He ran past a woman humming a nagundol. So again, I have a word that I'm not sure of, but I'm going to turn back here again to the glossary. Oh, it says nigindol. Nigindol. A nigun is a kind of Jewish religious music, a wordless melody usually sung with nonsense syllables. Oh, so he hears a woman singing this song. Suddenly, he heard a name. Who do you think it's going to be? Benjamin? Wait a minute, his name's not Benjamin. It wasn't his name, it was his father's, and it washed over him. She had a dimpled smile just like his. "That's Papa," he said. "I'm Oskar," whispered Aunt Esther. And he found her. That is a blessing. You can see the menorah there in the window. He must have made it in time before she lit it. Okay, so let me see if I was right, because there's a great map here showing me. One blessing was the woman who gave him the bread. Then there was the man who gave him the comic. Then he saw that beautiful painting in the window. Then he whistled that tune, had his first conversation in America. He got gloves from the boy who had the snowball fight and fell. This is where he sees Mrs. Roosevelt, and you know, she lets him pass. Here's where he falls and gets a hand, and then he sees and meets his Aunt Esther. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 blessings. So, what do you think, friends? Does it have a good message for us to remember? Maybe we can take a little something about this from this year, that we have to look for all the good things, right? And remember that we can always find the hope in the good people. Have a good night.